The news day continues here on One News Now. I'm Charles Lejano. Residents in areas near the affected ice plant and cold storage facility in Navotas evacuated their homes following a fatal ammonia leak at the facility yesterday. To give us the latest updates on the ground, we are joined on the line by Navotas City Mayor Toby Tiangco. Good morning, Mayor. Can you hear us?
Yes. Good morning, Charles.
Right, good morning. Mayor, last we checked, there was one fatality and at least 65 people hospitalized due to the leak. Do we have any updates to these numbers? And is the situation now under control?
Meron isang nadagdag na fatality na hanap lang this morning, no? Kasi hindi na makita gabi, no? So, hindi namin pwedeng galawin yan. Inintay po yung SOCO, no? Yan po yung number one. Number two, yung mga na-hospital ay nakabalik na po sa kanilang mga tahanan except yung 20 na galing doon sa 20 na sorry, ito nag-ring telephone.
All right.
Except yung 20 na nandun pa sa PGH.
All right, Mayor, let's talk about the evacuation. Are we doing a mandatory evacuation at this point? And what evacuation areas po yung pwedeng puntahan ng mga residents?
Hindi po. Pinabalik na po sila ng Bureau of Fire kagabi ng 8:30 nung nakita yung oxygen level is safe na.
Okay, Mayor. So exactly how many families or individuals po ang pinag-uusapan natin dito na kinailangan mag-evacuate mula sa kanilang mga tirahan?
Ang number of families doon is about 2,000 families ang nakatira doon sa area.
Okay, Mayor, that's quite a number. But then right now, do we know what actually caused this leak and how are the investigations going?
And yun nagkakapasok lang nung report ng Bureau of Fire. Basically, itong sinasabi na
sorry, Mayor.
The pungent po, according to him, the search drum has exploded. Yun po yung sinasabi, explode yung search drum.
Okay, so we'll wait for further updates, I suppose, on the investigation. But then, Mayor, have we heard from the property owner? Will reparations be made for those who have been affected, particularly dun po sa mga pamilya ng mga namatayan? Nakausap na po ba natin yung may-ari?
First of all, nakausap ko na yung unang namatay, yung last night na namatay, nakausap ko na, no? Yung may-ari, I've disclosed this ever since yesterday. I've been very transparent na yung mother ko is part owner of that. 1/4 ownership, 25% is owned by my mother by virtue of inheritance. Hindi po nag-invest yung nanay ko doon sa ice plant na yun. Yun po ay minana galing sa lolo ko. 4 silang magkakapatid, so tig 1/4 po sila.
Okay, so at least we know that there is that talk going on with the owner. But Mayor, is it still unsafe to go near the affected area? Do you now have things under control? And ano po yung abiso natin dun sa mga residente na ayaw pa rin mag-evacuate or baka nasa panganib pa rin?
Well, nag-evacuate na po sila at pinabalik na po sila ng Bureau of Fire.
Tapos na po yung immediate threat. Okay, thank you for clarifying and thank you for joining us this morning. That was Navotas City Mayor Toby Tiangco. Representative Edsel Lagman says there's no need to wait for an actual case or controversy before the anti-terror law could be challenged. Lagman, one of the petitioners assailing the constitutionality of the anti-terror law, says the mere existence of the law already violates the public's right to free speech. Recall that in the oral arguments before the Supreme Court, Justice Marvic Leonen questioned whether the petitioners had an actual case upon which their petition was based. This is because generally, no one can question the constitutionality of a law unless it can first be proved that its application caused actual injury to the person filing the petition. But as Lagman pointed out, there's an exception to this rule. And that's when a law, on its face, already prevents the public from exercising their fundamental civil rights, including their right to free speech. Lagman also says that the anti-terror law prevents the public from freely speaking up out of fear of being branded as a terrorist due to the broad definition of terrorism in the measure's text.
There is no need to wait for the happening of an actual case because the abuse and derogation of civil rights are embedded in the law itself, not in the speculative fear of the petitioners that the police or military enforcers will abuse the law. The abuse is in the law itself.
Lagman adds that they still have a few legal remedies left if the High Court decides to junk all of the petitions against the anti-terror law. But he also says that he's not too optimistic about these other options.
The next option is to convince the legislature, the Congress, to repeal or amend the law by introducing perfecting amendments. Again, that will be very hard to do. Under present congressional composition, because majority of the members of this House as well as of the Senate are allies of the president.
The Commission on Elections will closely regulate political activities in the upcoming campaign season in light of the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. COMELEC spokesperson James Jimenez says they will strictly limit public gatherings, although they're not keen on imposing an outright ban on face-to-face political campaigns. The Commission is urging political aspirants to focus on broadcast and internet campaigning. But Jimenez says they also have to ensure an even playing field, since a digital-heavy campaign season might be disadvantageous to certain candidates.
Unfortunately, even though it is rather, it's not entirely difficult to campaign online, we have to admit na talagang for some of our candidates, it will probably be a very novel approach. No? Maraming mga kandidato na magiging first time nila mangampanya in a heavily social media laced environment. No? So COMELEC has to help them to ensure na magkaroon tayo ng even playing field, even if it's online.
Jimenez also reminded those who weren't able to vote in the last 2 consecutive elections to have their registrations reactivated. He says out of a target voting population of 4 million, only 1.2 million have valid registrations.
If you miss 2 elections na magkasunod, that's the key there. Kailangan magkasunod, no? Then you will be deactivated, which means hindi ka makakaboto sa susunod na halalan. Madali lang naman yung reactivation eh. All you have to do is inform us that you're voting. And then reactivate na kagad.
The DENR has signaled an impending ban on plastic straws and coffee stirrers. While manufacturers are protesting this move, environmental groups say this is not enough. Shaila Francisco with the details.
Plastic soft drink straws and coffee stirrers may soon be phased out starting next year. They have been added to the list of non-environmentally acceptable products and packaging, or NEA. 11 agencies under the National Solid Waste Management Commission approved the move. The Environment Department wants the resolution ratified within a month. The guidelines will then be finalized before the ban takes effect a year after. For the DNR, this is a right step in addressing plastic pollution.
Hindi ho siya nabubulok, no? Even though it disintegrates sometimes, yes, but still turns into microplastics.
But before plastic straws and stirrers get banned, the DNR says alternatives should be available and should only be more expensive by 10% than the current price of straws and stirrers. Among alternatives pushed to replace plastic straws include paper, bamboo, and metal wands. Popsicle sticks and metal spoons can be used in place of coffee stirrers. Carinderia store owners are in favor of the move since only few use the said items anyway.
Okay lang po naman sa amin na walang straw kasi po nakakapagdagdag din po sa basura namin yung mga ano na yun.
But manufacturers warn most alternatives are imported and might lead to job losses. They plan to appeal the move to better reevaluate its scientific and economic impact.
Pinapatay natin local industry. Kasi ang plastic straw and plastic stirrers are being locally manufactured. While the bamboo, stainless, yung mga yun, imported pa yun eh. It cannot support kung magkaroon man ng demand, it cannot support the demand. So it will be imported. So it will be determined to the local jobs and local industry.
The DNR insists the phase-out is long overdue. The Solid Waste Management Act was enacted in the year 2000. Agencies were mandated to come up with a NEAP a year after, but it has only happened now. The DNR says it may reconsider the phase-out if manufacturers show a clear retrieval process with less impact to the environment.
Meron pa mga finishing touches yan to make sure na hindi rin tamaan yung industriya, no? Nitong mga if phase out na ito. And at the same time, hindi maapektuhan yung ating pong mga mamamayan na gumagamit naman ito.
For Oceana Philippines, banning plastic straws and stirrers is not enough. They want 8 more items to be included in the list. The DNR says the inclusion of more items is forthcoming. For now, the DNR targets to close all open dump sites by March this year. As of now, there are 195 remaining dump sites in the country, down from 233 last year. Shaila Francisco, WR1 News.
FEU Law Dean and TV host Mel Santamaria raised concerns regarding the proposed charter change. On 1PH sa Totoo Lang, he pointed out that the nature of Congress is one of politics, compromise, and alliances. Santamaria said there's no assurance that changes made to the Constitution will not be personally and politically motivated. Even if lawmakers say they will only amend the economic provisions of the Charter, Santamaria says there's no stopping them from changing other provisions to benefit their personal interests.
Well, ang dalawang tanong, Marga, isa rin una, yung mga taong magsususog nito, tiwala ba tayo sa kanila? At ang pangalawa nga, yung amyendang gagawin, makikinabang ba tayo? At ang pangatlo, ito ba ang tamang oras para gawin yon na ang daing-daing nating problema? May pandemya pa nga. Diba? So iyan ang problema dyan. Kasi it's wrong timing, and personally for me, wrong people. At third for me is wrong issues.
One health expert denies the claim of some anti-vaxxers that COVID-19 shots can cause autism. In an interview on 1PH sa Totoo Lang, NTF medical advisor Dr. Ted Herbosa said this claim was originally published in a journal but has since been disproved. He noted that the author admitted to faking his data and has also been arrested. Herbosa also debunked other conspiracy theories surrounding COVID-19 vaccination, like that of shots supposedly containing microchips. He said it's practically impossible to implant these devices through vaccines.
Yan ang ginagamit ngayon ng mga anti-vaxxers na kasi hindi naman siya totoo. Talagang mukhang ibang...
They said the vaccine aims to provide protection against multiple variants of the virus. CureVac CEO Franz Werner Haas discussed this on Bloomberg Markets.
We have been working during the last 12 months, not only on the vaccine, which is now in the clinics, which we are waiting the efficacy data somewhere in the at the end of the first quarter, the interim data to also apply for approval. What we have been doing as well is taking all the knowledge about the virus, but also how the RNA works in the clinics in the human setting, also to optimize the RNA even more so to come to a lower dosage, and to optimize it in order to have a stable backbone, to have other variants included there as well, to give a rapid response to the mutations, what we see all along.
Do you know how effective your current virus that you have in development is against the mutations that we currently know about?
Yeah, we are doing some testings here together with the regulatory authorities and key opinion leaders. It looks pretty good. At the end of the day, you will see it in the human setting. What you do is that you take the sera of the vaccinated people, and then you see how much these antibodies, which are in these sera, also protective for the new strain. And it looks pretty good, so we can confirm also what others have been seen so far.
Is March, we've heard March is a good target date. Do you feel like the new variants will have to push that timeline out and or affect your phase 3 trials?
That's a very good question. The question to be seen is, even though it is also covering the new strains, how much it takes away from your efficacy. We cannot measure something on that because we're waiting for the efficacy data to come. We see also in the regions where we are running the clinical trial that there are also variants floating around. And so this will be all covered in the data to be expected in end of March.
And those are the top stories of the hour. Join us later at 1 p.m. as we continue to monitor the day's biggest stories. You can also catch One News on the Signal Play app. Just register for a free account at www.signalplay.com and stream One News live anytime, anywhere. I'm Charles Lejano. We're One News.